I've listened to the Freewheelin Bob Dylan by Bob Dylan for years.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, and with me, Blowin In The Wind, it's Connor.
Whoa.
He's blowing away. We're doing another Year of Redemption episode. This is our second Bob Dylan episode.
Oh, I thought you were about to just leave it at Year of Redemption. I was like, another one already? We didn't even finish the first one.
No, we're in the middle of the first Year of Redemption. It's a little ironic, this one, because the first album we talked about from Bob Dylan is Highway 61 Revisited. And now we're revisiting Bob Dylan, but we're talking about an earlier album, the Freewheelin Bob Dylan.
But we could have done the same album again, and then we would have been revisiting Highway
61 Redeemed.
Highway 61 Redeemed? Maybe. What did I give Bobby D?
That's a great question. I knew you'd ask.
I'm going to go look. You know, some might say a professional podcaster would have come armed with that information.
You're correct. I did.
But here I am, defenseless.
Yeah, well, you gave our old Robert Zimmerman 7 Dinky Dylans out of 10.
Yeah, I thought I rated him pretty high. What are we doing redeeming Bobby D?
Well, there were a lot of reasons here, because you gave him a 7 out of 10, but I wasn't so sure about it. This was episode 61. It was a long time ago.
Oh, did you give it a bad score? Is this a redemption for you?
It's definitely part of a redemption for me, yeah.
Whoa.
I gave Highway 61 Revisited kind of a measly 85.4. Right now, it sits at number 383 on my ranking list, and even in the episode I said it didn't sit quite right. It landed below Machine Gun Kelly's Tickets to My Downfall. It just didn't feel very good, and you ranked the album so low, you were so critical of it, that I even revoked your Dylanologist license. I said you no longer qualify as a Dylanologist.
Maybe I'll get my certification back.
Maybe you will. In episode 61, you also said that Highway 61 Revisited wasn't your favorite Bob Dylan album or one that you would have necessarily picked, but you also talked about how his hits are spread out over a lot of albums. But you particularly, you talked a lot about re-listenability. Bob Dylan is probably, for you, a pretty low re-listenability artist, I would guess. His vocals, you commented on. You said Highway 61 drags a bit, and that's true. It's got a lot of really long songs. I literally said I hated some of my scores from that episode, and that we should even do a revisited episode on Bob Dylan someday. It's another time that I called the Year of Redemption long before it showed up. And the Freewheelin Bob Dylan has always been my favorite, to be honest. I think it was the first Bob Dylan album I ever listened to.
That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's the second Bob Dylan album he ever made, so it's pretty early as far as albums go. Also an update, since episode 61, I have indeed seen Bob Dylan live. I've been to one of his infamous live shows, and it was exactly as I said. He didn't really play too many of the hits. The songs that he did play, he jazzed up and changed the arrangement so much that you could struggle to recognize them if you didn't know the lyrics. It was part of the Rough and Rowdy Ways tour, so it was a lot of stuff from his newer record, and it was a great time, and I'm really glad I did it. But it was everything everyone says about Bob Dylan live. What have you been up to, Bob Dylan-wise, since episode 61? It's been 160 weeks.
Bob Dylan-wise, listening to Like a Rolling Stone, Blowin In The Wind, Knocking on Heaven's Door, of course.
Yep.
The usual.
How much have you gotten back into anything from Highway 61? And have you listened to the episode since then?
Like a Rolling Stone, of course, is on Highway 61. I think I can honestly say I haven't heard a single other track from Highway 61 since the episode.
That's wild. Rolling Stone's not even the one that you picked for your playlist pick.
Nope.
Ballad of a Thin Man was your take.
You're right. Maybe I've heard that one when I had the playlist on.
Wow.
That'd be about it.
Wow. Well, you remember what you did in the Bob Dylan episode? It's kind of gone down in podcast infamy, in my mind, as one of the most ridiculous bits that's ever occurred.
Let's see. What did I do in that one?
Oh, that was a rhetorical question, I thought. Never mind.
It was, and then the second time, it wasn't.
Well, in that episode, between you and the Mixtaper, one of the two of you decided to get into charcuterie.
Oh, is that the...
And you drank a quart of cherry cordial.
That's the milk?
Yeah.
That's the milk one?
Uh-huh. And so, to celebrate, I looked high and low for cherry cordial milk, and I couldn't find it. So, I just got some basic strawberry milk here with me.
Did you check Kroger?
Kroger's where I was.
That's where I found it.
Yeah, but it's eggnog season, so...
Yeah, they did have that too, but...
They had one that was boiled custard, vanilla flavored, and I was like, maybe I'll try this awful thing.
Well, lucky for you, I have some cherry cordial milk in my fridge right now.
Have you been buying that regularly for the last 165 weeks?
No, because it only comes out around the holidays.
Wow.
But when it is out, I do like to get it. And I have some in the fridge right now. I'll be right back.
So you get cherry milk and cherry M&Ms seasonally. What an interesting flavor palette. He'll be right back. Anyway, that's why I figured we should do a redemption on Bob Dylan. I think Highway 61, I thought the episode was great. I learned a lot. I love the album. I just think we could do a little more justice to Bob Dylan and his music. And so I figured, year of redemption. Let's bring him back. Let's see if we can get him up above a 7. See if we can get him out of my mid-low 300s. And I know we can.
And I'm back.
Welcome back. I was just telling the audience one more time why I wanted to do a redemption. I think we can get him out of your 7s.
Yeah.
I think the Freewheelin Bob Dylan, I mean, this is before he goes electric. There's a lot of elements that we kind of critiqued on Highway 61 Revisited that are absent or changed or different on Freewheelin, especially song length and his singing style.
I've got my carton of milk, and I've had one glass out of it pre-podcast episode.
To be clear, this is not a challenge. You don't have to...
Oh, no. It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge. Doesn't mean it ain't going to happen.
It's not a challenge. It'll be easy. Well, we gave our boy Robert Zimmerman and his transition into the Bob Dylan we all know and love, we gave him a pretty thorough treatment in the first episode. So if you're here for Bob Dylan history and lore and stuff, we'll get into a little bit of it, but if you want a really good, deeper dive in the bigger picture of Bob Dylan's early life and his going electric era, and the Newport Folk Festival and all that stuff, that's all in episode 61. You'll have to scroll a little bit or search for it directly, but it's all there. I figured today we'd focus more deeply on his early career, and of course talk about Freewheelin' a lot more specifically. So the Spark Notes version of Bob Dylan's early career is what you'll get here, but man, what a guy. Bob Dylan was born in Minnesota in 1941. He grew up very heavily influenced by Hank Williams, who he would listen to on the Grand Ole Opry. Bob also loved Elvis, Little Richard, some of those early rock and rollers who he heard on the radio. People we've talked about on the podcast. Bob Dylan was just smitten with them. He actually saw Buddy Holly and probably saw Waylon Jennings, who was Buddy Holly's bassist. He saw them just 4 days before the infamous plane crash that took Buddy Holly's life. Before the day the music died, Bob Dylan saw him live. Bob grew up playing covers of their songs, but he thought that rock and roll lacked a lot of the storytelling and the heart that he wanted to put into his own music. So after playing around Dinkytown in Minnesota, right? That's why you called your unit Dinky Dylans. He was in Dinkytown. Yeah. He changed his name to Bob Dylan at that point, and he started taking inspiration from folk music a lot more than rock music. Especially, he followed legends like the one and only Woody Guthrie. Dylan is a self-proclaimed Woody Guthrie's greatest disciple, and with his own music, he really wanted to carry on Woody's legacy. So Bob moves all the way out east in 1961. He heads to New York City to explore the burgeoning Greenwich Village folk scene, which suddenly leads to all kinds of opportunities playing harmonica and recording with established folk artists. That kind of gets his foot in the door, and of course he's surrounded by folk music. He's learning so much, and he's performing and playing so much. His first album, simply called Bob Dylan, came out on March 19th, 1962, a year and change, give or take, since he moved to New York City, and he was able to sign with Columbia Records, which is awesome. Most songs on that first album were covers and reimaginings of traditional folk songs, which is something you'll see continuing on through this album. But two of his originals on his eponymous debut, Talkin, New York and Song to Woody, they're both standout tracks on that record. That first album was not a huge hit. It basically sold enough copies to break even and keep him afloat, but it was far from what you'd call a resounding success. And it wasn't going great for him. In the industry, he had a friend who got him signed to the record label, John Hammond. And after this first album kind of underperformed, John Hammond was mocked by his colleagues. They called Bob Dylan Hammond's Folly. And Hammond said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "This is Bob frickin' Dylan we're talking about." He didn't say it like that, but that's probably what he thought. He said, "I'll show you. This was no folly on my part." And so he set out to make Dylan's sophomore album a resounding success. And the Bob Dylan team also grows. He signs on with manager Albert Grossman, who would work with Dylan all throughout the 60s. And he also started working with jazz producer Tom Wilson. Jazz producer is an interesting fit for Freewheelin'. Not a very jazzy album, but it was just a great partnership. It resulted in some really awesome work, because Tom Wilson would go on to do significant work on Dylan's other early albums as well. So very lucrative. And everything looks good on paper. Behind the scenes, though, there's a little drama. His manager, Al Grossman, he made a secret deal with Whitmark Music to get a larger cut of publishing for the artist that he got signed. So he had ulterior motives in bringing Bob Dylan to this publishing company. Obviously, Bob turned into a huge cash cow for him, but by the 80s, they had to duke it all out in court, which is interesting. That comes later.
I feel like court is the exact opposite of duking things out.
Well, you know Bob Dylan. He's a boxer.
Yeah.
You can't hit him, but he's a boxer.
Just saying. I feel like the whole point of the court was to stop people from literally duking it out.
Well, it's not a literal. Yeah, it's more of a legal duking it out.
A luking it out.
So that's, that happens in the future, but it's part of the drama behind Freewheelin'. So I figured it was worth mentioning. So Bob Dylan, he's got himself a label. He's got himself a producer. He's got himself a manager. It's time to get to work and to prove this dinky little Dylan worthy of this record contract and kind of start to take his place in the folk and Americana world. And that's what he's doing with Freewheelin'. The stakes are high for the second album. So Bob heads into the Columbia Records Studio A for 8 recording sessions over the course of a year from April of 1962 to 63. And Freewheelin' is where Bob's songwriting really starts to shine through. Suddenly, our small town Minnesota boy, he's living in the big city amongst a community of very outspoken activists. He's dating a girl by the name of Suze Rotolo, both of whose parents were communists in a time period that was not particularly friendly to communists in America.
To anybody.
Yeah, right. It's true. And there's a lot happening in the world. The Cold War is in full force. There's the Bay of Pigs, the space race, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Everything's kind of converging on the 60s. And a lot is happening in Bob Dylan's life. His girlfriend left the country for a long time. She went to Europe and Italy, and that led to a lot of strong emotions from the young Bob Dylan, and he pours all of his angst and longing and frustration straight into these song lyrics. He's got songs about warmongers and lost love and nuclear war and racism, all of it, everything. The working title of Freewheelin' Bob Dylan is anything but freewheelin'. It was called Bob Dylan's Blues. Very apt for the content of the record. You know the 13 songs that did make the record, but, just for example, here's a sampling of the songs that didn't make the record. Titles like The Death of Emmett Till, Talkin' Bear Mountain Picnic Massacre Blues. He did a cover of Hank Williams' Lonesome Whistle, Let Me Die in My Footsteps, like morbid stuff is in the back catalog that didn't make the Freewheelin' cut. He wanted to put those on the album, but the record label actually made him cut a lot of tracks that he initially wanted on the record for fear of legal retaliation from some of the people he was lambasting. I mean, even what's made it on the album really goes after some people specifically, Masters of War, etc. But throw a specific name in there and you really opening yourself up to more duking it out in court.
Luking it out.
Yeah. There's a teeny tiny handful of original pressings of Freewheelin' Bob Dylan that got found. There were pressings that Columbia tried to destroy back in the day, but apparently they're the rarest records in America. One single copy of the first pressing of Freewheelin' sold for $35,000. It had some of those forbidden tracks on it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So Bob Dylan's songwriting, the content has really evolved and come a long way from the self-titled debut. He also worked like lightning. He was quick. Pete Seeger said that Bob was the most prolific songwriter on the scene. Bob said sometimes he would write 5 songs in a single night. He said the songs are just there. They exist all by themselves, just waiting for someone to write them down, and I just put them down on paper. If I didn't do it, somebody else would. So that's kind of his mindset. These songs just kind of fall out of him. And of course, he also covered plenty of songs. He had recently traveled himself to England, kind of tried to chase down his girlfriend who was across the pond. And while he was over there, he learned all kinds of traditional music that he transformed for Freewheelin'. He turned the traditional Scarborough Fair into A Girl from the North Country. He reworked an 1847 piece called Lady Franklin's Lament into Bob Dylan's Dream. He's just breathing brand new life straight into these time-honored traditional classics. And, compared to what we talked about on Highway 61 Revisited, which is still coming 2 years down the road, his recording style on Freewheelin' is a lot more traditional folk. For virtually the entire album, it is his voice, a guitar, a harmonica. That's it. Just one guy in a studio playing these songs through one at a time. It is long before he goes electric, and it's very stripped down compared to the siren whistle laden arrangements on Highway 61. So I just really love, too, that in this Year of Redemption pick, we're seeing a vastly different side of Bob Dylan on Freewheelin. The only song on the album that's not just him is this version of Corrina. That one's got a full band, piano, guitar, drums, bass, and they also recorded 2 other songs like that ended up being unusable, not good for the album. So Corrina is the only one out of these 13 that ends up with a band, but they're even still, the arrangement is such that you hardly even notice them. And like I mentioned, of course, he worked with jazz producer Tom Wilson on Freewheelin. Odd choice, but a choice that worked really well. Wilson said, I had been recording Sun Ra and Coltrane. See our Miles Davis episode lately for more on John Coltrane. But he said, I thought folk music was for the dumb guys. Dylan played like the dumb guys, but then these words came out and I was flabbergasted, which is awesome. I think that's just such a cool sentiment. The Freewheelin Bob Dylan came out on May 27th, 1963, just a month after he finished the last recordings. It was probably a pretty simple album to mix and master, given that it was, one guy. It was immediately a huge success, selling 10,000 copies a month. And remember, his first album sold like 5,000 copies ever. So that's a major increase. He was making $2,500 a month in 1963 dollars, which is the equivalent of making almost $26,000 a month today. And he's like 21. Shortly after the album's release, the Peter, Paul, and Mary version of Blowin' in the Wind went to number 2 on the pop charts, and Bob played at the second ever Newport Folk Festival with Joan Baez, who we would strike up a romantic relationship with, actually. Bob was riding high. Freewheelin', it's essentially the album that turns Bob Dylan from an unknown artist into a folk icon. Freewheelin' came out and he said, suddenly, I just can't walk around without a disguise. I used to walk around and go wherever I wanted, but now it's gotten very weird. People follow me into the men's room just so they can say that they saw me pee. That's a level of notoriety I don't ever want.
I kind of want it.
Really? You want people to watch you pee?
Not that specifically, just that level of, imagine how ridiculous it is being so popular that people would want that.
Yeah, that's unthinkable.
The evil in me would be like, what else might I get them to do?
Oh my gosh. Jumping jacks. Something, anything.
Yeah. Well, no, it'd all be harmless, but it is people manipulation, so it's kind of evil. But it'd all be silly, practical joke stuff.
Right. Go find me some cherry cordial milk. Chop, chop.
Whoever can do a handstand the longest gets to go to dinner with me.
Maybe it's a good thing you're not famous like that.
You can come to dinner with me, but I leave when you break your handstand.
Oh my gosh, that's an interesting idea. When the podcast takes off, just everyone who's listening know what you're getting into. Bob's famous. That's my point. Bob's so famous, and we're not, and that's fine. That's for the best.
Robert.
Old Robert Zimmerman, a music critic, was talking about Freewheelin', and he was talking about the album's impact. He said in barely over a year, a young plagiarist, because he was stealing and reworking a lot of other people's work. But that's the olden days. He said a young plagiarist has been reborn as a songwriter of substance. And his first album of fully realized original material got the 1960s off their musical starting block. The 1960s, they're an incredible evolutionary decade for music. The 1960s produces the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and so many other absolute icons come out of the 1960s and really evolve music. There's The Who, there's Pink Floyd, there's Led Zeppelin starting up. That all kicks off with stuff like Freewheelin'. Love that. The album went to number 22 on the Billboard charts and pretty quickly went platinum for selling 1 million units. And it also inspired tons of musicians, notably, like I just mentioned, the Beatles. They took a lot of their early musical and lyrical cues from Bob Dylan's work, especially John Lennon. And we talked in the Beatles episode about how Bob Dylan introduced them to marijuana after he misheard a lyric in I Want to Hold Your Hand. They sing, I can't hide, I can't hide, I can't hide. And Bob Dylan thought they said, I get high, get high, get high. And he was like, hey, you guys get high? How about some weed? And they went, sure.
Sure, why not?
They hadn't tried it at that point. So that's a fun little side quest he did. But he's huge. People start to call Bob Dylan the spokesman of a generation. He's again, 22, 23, and he's the spokesman of a generation. Critic Patrick Humphrey said, "Rarely has one album so effectively reflected the times which produced it. Freewheelin spoke directly to the concerns of its audience and addressed them in a mature and reflective manner. It mirrored the state of the nation." And I think that's, to be honest, another reason why I really like it. As the history nerd, I think that's super cool. What a really interesting, like, the historical context around the album is fascinating and so important to understanding the way this album is. So I love that. Freewheelin was one of the first albums ever added to the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry in 2002. Rolling Stone has ranked it as high as number 97 on their list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. So I just thought, all that deserves its own episode proper.
And here we are.
Kicking off the new year.
New year, new Dylan.
That's right. Same podcast. Well, after Freewheelin catapulted Bob Dylan to the absolute pinnacle of the folk music scene, he put out a few more acoustic, traditional folk albums before going electric with Highway 61 Revisited. Again, not to beat that horse to death, but had a lot of fun talking about that album too. A lot of his mid-60s career kind of gets covered by our previous episode. But then Bob Dylan has his motorcycle accident. His backing band went on to be The Band, who we did another episode on in their self-titled album. Bob Dylan just continues to evolve what folk music is and can be over the years. He came down to Nashville to record his iconic Blonde on Blonde double album and his record Nashville Skyline. He, of course, eventually would join forces with George Harrison, Tom Petty, and Roy Orbison to form the Traveling Wilburys supergroup. And of course, since the 60s, over the decades, he's continued to tour and release music. Today, he's up to 40 studio albums, with his most recent, Shadow Kingdom, coming out in 2023. He's just had plenty of singles over the years that you almost certainly know. The Times They Are A-Changin', you talked about that one. Subterranean Homesick Blues, Like a Rolling Stone, I Want You Just Like a Woman, All Along the Watchtower, Lay Lady Lay, Knockin' on Heaven's Door, Tangled Up in Blue, recently Murder Most Foul, like all kinds of really interesting stuff in the Bob Dylan catalog if you go digging. His touring schedule is still pretty robust. I mean, the man's in his 80s, but he sometimes plays up to 100 shows a year on his never-ending tour. And of course, again, just like I said last time and at the beginning of this episode, if you go see Bob Dylan live, just be forewarned, it's not a hit parade, it's not fan service, it's Bob service. He just does whatever he wants, and I really respect that. But yeah, as for his awards and accolades, man, what do you give a guy who's earned every award?
Not every award.
Not every award, but a lot of them.
There's a coveted CGOT to be won.
Bob Dylan is so far from a CGOT or even an EGOT. I don't think he's got an E or a T.
I know what to get a guy then.
Yeah? You want to get Bob Dylan a Tony Award?
Why not?
How do we do that?
Find a guy named Tony, get him to award Bob Dylan.
Oh, like a cheater's CGOT. And in case you don't know the joke, the S in the CGOT is the Spin It Award that we're potentially going to give him, as well as an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. Anyway, yeah, we could get him an award from a guy named Tony, I guess. But in the meantime, he's got 10 Grammys and a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, plus 3 songs and 5 albums in the Grammy Hall of Fame. He's got an Oscar and a Golden Globe for Best Original Song in Wonder Boys. He has a Dove Award for Slow Train Comin'. He's got 5 of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. That's 1%. Bob Dylan has 1% of the songs that shaped rock and roll.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so. He's also been honored with a Nobel Prize in Literature. He's got an honorary doctorate from Princeton. He's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's earned the Kennedy Center honors, the National Medal of Arts, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What a guy. So yeah, that's what I've got about Bob Dylan. It's time to see what the Mixtaper has brought for a second round of Factor Spin.
Shall we remind the audience what he brought last time?
Yeah, I'm always really curious about these redemption pick episodes because I do sometimes feel like the best stuff would have come up the first time. But so far in this year, he's really not pulled any punches. And we found a lot of really good, true information that was still waiting in the wings. So I'm open-minded about this Bob Dylan episode. Last time, the Mixtaper opened with Ryan the Ghost, but it was a ghost dog.
Wow.
He said Bob Dylan heard a ghost dog barking in the distance, somehow knew it was a ghost and not just a normal dog, and he decided to name it Ryan. That was, I think, only the 3rd time Ryan the Ghost had even come up. I mean, it was only about 15 episodes old at that point. But we found Ryan the Ghost at Lady Gaga's house. So thankfully, we're safe from that being a thing again. If it came up the first time, I don't know how the Mixtaper would have made it come up again this time, but he would have found a way. We talked about how Bob Dylan was a boxer but he wasn't allowed to get hit. He went to a boxing gym and just liked to spar with people, but they wouldn't fight back because he's an 80-year-old Bob Dylan. We talked about Dylanology, the science of Bob Dylan, and people who would wait outside his house to collect trash that might have his lyrics in them or something. Like they were just clamoring for Bob Dylan, and that was really interesting. I do feel like I've been a Dylanologist ever since, but not in the way that I'm digging through his trash, just in the way that I like his music. And then we talked about his partnership with Carrie Fisher on a cologne called Just Like a Woman, and Carrie Fisher gave him a bunch of sarcastic taglines. They didn't actually partner up for the cologne, but she did suggest a bunch of those taglines to him, if I remember correctly. That was kind of a half-truth.
Pretty good facts.
Yeah, so we've got Ghost Dogs, Undefeated Boxer, Stalker Science, and Princess Leia Smell. Those were our previous 4 Bob Dylan facts. Let's get the Mixtaper out here and see what 4 facts we're adding to the Bob Dylan canon.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Hello, Mixtaper. How you feeling this week? Ready for another redemption chance? I guess I didn't mention to Connor, but I can talk to you about it. I did get 3 out of the 4 right about Bob Dylan.
So this is my chance to get some payback.
Yeah, it is. We'll see what you could come up with here. Unfortunately, I don't think I've learned much more about Bob Dylan since that episode. You know, sometimes after we do an episode on someone, I feel a little more at liberty to crack open a biography. You know, I don't have to worry about scouring the internet or Googling as much, because before an episode, I'm always afraid I'll find facts and spoil a round of fact or spin. But I don't feel like I've learned too much more about Bob Dylan since this point. So you might have an edge on me this time.
Let's start with, he's a scruffy vagrant.
He's a scruffy vagrant?
Yeah.
Like right now at this moment?
More specifically, a suspicious scruffy vagrant.
Oh, is he sneaking around again? Is he in disguise so that people don't ask him about pee?
No, but, and to answer your first question of is he still currently? Probably not, but 68-year-old Dylan was a scruffy vagrant.
Okay, so this is like 20 years in the past.
2009. 2008 Connor had just recently passed away.
Rip in peace. 2009 Bob Dylan, though, is alive and well and scruffy and vagrant.
Yeah.
What's he doing in 2009 that's so suspicious? Where is he?
New Jersey.
Okay, he's in New Jersey. What's he doing in New Jersey?
He's in rainy New Jersey, and what's he doing? He's meandering.
Oh, this does sound familiar. Yeah, he's meandering through New Jersey. Did we talk about this on the last episode? Why does this seem so familiar to me? He's meandering through the rain, and the police show up, right?
Maybe.
I feel like I maybe just was totally wrong about not learning anything else about Bob Dylan. I feel like I remember him getting arrested and nobody believing he was Bob Dylan because, of course, he doesn't carry ID. He's Bob Dylan. I forget how he gets out of it. And I don't want to say too more for fear that I'll jelly baby myself.
Yeah, well, then ask more questions.
He's walking around New Jersey. What happens? Are there police?
He gets arrested.
Yeah.
For, being a homeless man. Looks all disheveled. They're like, you can't be disheveled and scruffy around here, you vagrant.
That's right.
I arrest thee.
Arrest thee?
He's like, no, I'm a Nobel Prize winner. And they're like, you liar, ruffian.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell yourself that you would recognize him and believe him, but would you really? It's cold and dark and rainy. I think you'd be skeptical of that too. So how does he get out of jail? I mean, does he get fully arrested, booked?
His staff produced his passport. He didn't get arrested. They took him to his supposed hotel. They were like, all right, well, if you claim you have ID at your hotel and it's not too far away, we'll go get it. And when he got there, his staff was able to produce his passport.
Prove he was
like,
Bob
Look,
Dylan.
It's Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And the cop was like, well, you're still scruffy, even if you're not a vagrant.
Well, you're still scruffy. That's the motto, the moral of the story. That's got to be so embarrassing for the cop. I know he's just doing his job, but man, Bob Dylan probably was not happy about that. He does not seem like a guy with a long fuse, to put it away.
Dylan later shrugged the incident off, claiming it's just an average walk. So I don't know what his walks are usually like, but apparently this was an average one.
Wow.
But I guess if people are usually trying to watch you pee, then maybe this is average,
It could be. You never know what's going to happen next. The police officer was a secret Dylanologist. I think this is true.
Thinks it's true. Fully true?
I was listening for details that maybe could have spinified it, but I really do think that I've heard this story somehow, some way, somewhere. And yeah, I think it holds up. I think that's true what you've said, unless you're going to get me on a technicality like the cops did not really say, we will arrest thee, Vagrant. And instead, I hope that's not the granular level we're going to.
I have bad news for thee. You have jelly babied oneself yet again.
No. Did I get something wrong?
No, but I wish. This is a true fact.
Oh, thank goodness. You really scared me. I was worried when I was saying things. I was like...
I was so quiet, just letting you hang yourself, waiting on you to say something that wasn't true.
I know.
And you caught yourself before you did.
I was trying to keep it pretty general, pretty vague. I was like, I think I know this.
I can't believe you knew this.
I can't believe I knew this.
Oh.
Bob Dylan's arrest. I don't know where I came across that or when, but it feels like I've known it for a long time. Like I would never have told you that story if you asked me about it. But to hear you say he was Scruffy in New Jersey, that's what like sent the bells a ringing.
You're just like, whoa.
I was like, I've been here before. Sorry about that.
Are we ready for our next supposedly true fact?
Yeah, I'm ready. What else is supposedly true? Let's see how long I've known this one.
He went incognito.
Sounds like a necessity after all he's been through. Where did he go incognito?
New York City.
A couple miles north of the incident. When did he go incognito?
In the 1970s.
Okay. Why did he go incognito?
To drive a taxi.
Okay. And how did he go incognito?
By driving around the city as a taxi driver.
Okay. And who went incognito?
Bob Dylan.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I asked all the questions.
You didn't ask how come.
Well, I asked how and why. I think why is just how come, but more efficiently.
But you're supposed to say who, what, when, where, why, and how come. There's always the tag on.
But why is how come? What do you mean?
I don't know. It's just what I always heard.
I think you always heard it wrong. Who told you that? Anyway, Bob Dylan is in disguise driving a taxi?
Yeah.
Is he physically disguised? I mean, this is the 70s. He's a lot younger back in the day.
Physically disguised with a newsboy cap, sunglasses, and a fake mustache.
Oh, wow, the mustache really sells it. Sort of an unnatural scruff.
Yeah.
How does he get a taxi?
It's a good question. Don't have an answer, but it's a good question.
Yeah, I was like, does he just call up a cab company and say, hey, let me drive? Like, surely they'd say no.
I mean, it's the 70s, so probably would say yes.
Well, maybe. Maybe he does. Maybe he pays a cabbie or someone independent to use their taxi. Maybe he gets in the back and then chloroforms them.
Oh, no.
Maybe they're in the trunk. So he's driving people around New York City?
Uh-huh.
Actually taking them to their destinations? Why is he doing this?
To see if anybody would recognize him.
Well, I mean, he's disguised. I don't know. If he wanted to see if people would recognize him, I feel like I wouldn't do the disguise.
But you see what he would do is then sing along to his own songs on the cab radio.
Oh, like a carpool karaoke situation.
See if anybody noticed that, his voice was matching the radio.
That's pretty funny. So he'd just play all of his own music?
Yes.
That's so interesting. I'd be in the back of the cab going, man, this guy really likes Bob Dylan.
One passenger said, buddy, you sound just like Bob Dylan. To which Bob Dylan responded with, yeah, I get that a lot.
Of course he did. He said, don't think twice. It's all right. How many people do you think he drove? Was this a one-time thing or was this like a regular hobby?
No, it was a day in the life of a cabbie.
Well, good for him to find ways to get out of the public eye and keep things fresh. It's funny that he complained about being recognized and then tried to go be recognized.
I think the point was to not be recognized. Otherwise, he would have admitted it was him when like that guy asked. I think it was more of a, haha, you don't recognize me, sort of like victory over the people who are always trying to watch him pee.
Like a power trip.
More like reclaiming his power and his identity is how I choose to view it.
Yeah, this is so funny. I think this is a fact. Although, is it a fact about Bob Dylan?
Yeah, did you know this one too?
No, see, I don't know this one. But it feels very familiar. It feels like something any artist could do.
Setting off the alarm bells, cabbie in New York City. I remember this story.
No, I mean, but this could be about anybody. Like, any number of artists now could do this and play their music from their Spotify or their Apple. You know what I mean? You could just pull up whatever you wanted. Back then, it is a little tougher. I mean, you got to wait till it's on the radio.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a cassette, but I doubt it. When you say 1970?
This is a true Spin.
I kind of knew it. And I just didn't go for it.
You stuck to your gut, and your gut was wrong.
Yeah, it was. It's probably from all this strawberry milk. It's really...
Well, to be fair, the gut did realize it was wrong, and then you didn't listen to it a second time. But
well, that's, you know what? Fair point. I should have thought twice. It was not all right. Funny though.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one. It seemed like something Bob Dylan would do.
I think so. Especially since there's no payoff.
Yeah.
I think if you had made it like he did a reveal, I'd be like, I don't know. But yeah, just since he's just in your story, just doing it to do it. Yeah, okay.
Just doing it to do it, like when he scares children.
He scares children. That sounds like a third fact.
Sure is.
Okay, let's see. Bob Dylan scares children. Fact. No, at like Halloween for a particular occasion?
Particular occasion? Yes. Halloween? No.
Oh, it's another one of those Earth Day facts, isn't it? What's the occasion? Why is he scaring kids? On purpose?
No. Classic kindergartners at his grandson's school.
Okay. Is it take your grandpa to work day? Why is he at the school?
He just popped in, took it upon himself to serenade these children with his gravelly voice.
Why?
Because his grandson was there, and he thought the kids would like his music.
His grandson was there. When did this happen?
When his grandson was in kindergarten.
Well, yes. I actually have no idea how old Bob Dylan's grandson is, and that could be any number of ages.
Me neither.
If you're talking about a gravelly old voice, it sounds like it's older Bob Dylan. Probably in the last 30 years or so, I'd guess. I don't know.
I would assume so.
What did he sing?
A whole bunch of songs. He just kept going, and the kids were like, who's this weird man with the guitar?
He just kept going? What's the teacher have to say? Was this coordinated? I mean, you say he just popped in.
Yeah, well, the teachers were like, what's going on? And the one kid was like, this is Grandpa Bob. And she's like, what's Grandpa Bob doing? And he's like, he's singing. He does that a lot.
What?
And she's like, why? And eventually she comes to the realization that Grandpa Bob is Bob Dylan.
But, so he's not doing this in a classroom? Like, where is he singing?
Yeah, I don't have that information. I don't know if it was like a bring a parent to work day sort of situation. If he was just coming by to like pick up his grandson from kindergarten and decided to sing for the kids as they got out of school.
With the guitar in hand. Just really went for it.
Yeah, I don't know. It just says, all this says is that he popped in to sing what 5-year-olds described as scary songs until the teachers realized Grandpa Bob was Bob Dylan.
What's even more wild about that is that means they were just going to let anybody's Grandpa Bob come in here and sing scary songs to the children. It's not like they went, oh, Bob Dylan, this will be a rich cultural learning experience for the kids. They're like, what? Timmy's grandpa? Have at it, man.
I don't know any more information.
That's ridiculous. Now, do I believe that kindergartners would be kind of freaked out and confused if this happened? Yeah. But did this happen? Oh, I want to believe it so bad. But there's no way it's true.
Go with the gut.
There's no way this could happen like this. The teachers would have to know who he was beforehand. My gut is telling me that this is a spin.
And your gut is wrong. This is a true fact.
He just appears with a guitar? Oh, man.
Per the sources I found, yes. I could not figure out why he just appears with a guitar.
That's awesome. Wonder what he sang. Wonder if they were kid-friendly songs or like he walks in going Masters of War and, Suicidal Mr. Jones and...
The kids were not Dylanologists.
No, definitely not. It sounds like Bob Dylan is not much of a kidologist himself, though.
Well, apparently not. He's also not much of a negotiator.
Uh-oh. Lots of potential here for a fourth fact. What's Bob Dylan trying to negotiate?
A trade.
Okay. Who's he negotiating with before we get into the what?
His manager, Albert Grossman.
Uh-oh. Albert Grossman's got Backstreet Man vibes. He just turned Dylan into the publishing company for the extra boost. The money. What on earth could he be trying to trade?
Well, he wanted a couch.
He wanted a couch?
A secondhand couch, yeah, that Albert Grossman had.
Bob Dylan is not much of a negotiator because he was not good at negotiating for a secondhand couch.
Oh, he got that couch. He got that secondhand couch from Albert Grossman.
What did it cost him?
Well, what would you have to say a secondhand couch from Albert Grossman might be worth?
Worth?
If you were to offer a trade.
Oh my gosh. This is going to be one of those ludicrous facts where, he doesn't have any money or something, so he offers like some portion of rights to a song that ends up being Blowin In The Wind or something. I don't know. I think a good secondhand couch, I would pay a couple $100 for.
Oh, okay.
Like a good one.
Would you like maybe, you got some art lying around on your wall. Would you maybe give him that art for his couch?
It depends on the art, but yeah, probably. I mean, the art is nice, but the couch is pretty functional.
Would you maybe give a silk screen double Elvis for that couch?
I don't know about that at all. A silk screen double Elvis?
Yeah, double Elvis is what it's called.
What is that?
What is a double Elvis, you might ask? Is that what you just asked?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I only know about the one.
Well, it's a significant piece of pop art created by pop artist Andy Warhol.
I was worried you'd say Warhol. He did a lot of silkscreen stuff.
It features 2 overlapping images of Elvis Presley.
Yeah, okay.
Created using silkscreen and silver paint.
And Bob Dylan has this?
Yeah, given to him by Warhol himself in the late 60s.
Okay. That's the time period I was wondering about too. We did the whole Velvet Underground thing, and they were working with Warhol in 67. So we've touched Andy Warhol before.
Yeah.
How much is this painting worth? How much does Bob Dylan practically spend for this secondhand couch?
Well, for that, we're going to have to play everybody's
come on.
second favorite spin a game show.
Don't start 2026 off like this.
With a 2026 edition of Guess That Dollar Amount.
I don't even know. $300,000. What's a Warhol worth? It's a fair amount.
More.
Yeah, I thought that was a big number to guess. Of course, it's more. 400,000.
More.
700,000.
More.
Oh my gosh, $1 million?
Way more.
Oh my gosh. Must have been a really comfy couch. 6 million?
Way more.
No way. 20 million.
Way more.
100 million.
Ooh, less.
We're between 20 million and 100 million. 50 million.
Slightly more.
This is the part that's the most annoying. 60 million.
Less.
55 million.
Slightly less.
54 million.
Slightly less.
53 million.
$53 million is what the original painting sold for in 2019.
That's unreal.
Special edition prints have gone for upwards of $81 million.
That's so wild. I mean, he knew it was from Andy Warhol, right? Andy Warhol
Andy Warhol gave it to him himself.
Yeah, and he was notable at the time.
But he liked the couch more.
I guess maybe not that notable. The times they haven't changed. So, I'm sure there was some discrepancy then, but a Warhol even then was still worth a lot. More than a couch.
Hey, good old Bobby D, he admitted it was probably a mistake.
Probably. In what world is there anything but a mistake there?
Well, hang on, you never know. You don't know what the butterfly effect of not taking that couch might have been.
That's true. I guess I don't. But why not a brand new couch? If you're working with that kind of bargaining chip, at least get a brand new couch.
Yeah, well, he liked that secondhand couch.
I guess so.
It was comfortable, but is it true?
Well, I'm suspicious of a second Warhol painting negotiation.
And where can our audience listen to the first Warhol negotiation?
It was episode 169. We talked about the Velvet Underground, and we talked a lot about Andy Warhol in that.
I feel like we've talked about him a couple times on the podcast now.
He's come up one or two other instances.
He may be our most talked about artist.
As far as like visual artist, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I can see Bob Dylan being a guy that just doesn't care about the painting. I can see him not expecting it to be worth much or just wanting to get rid of it. I could see that. I'm going to say fact.
Can go with fact. Not a good negotiator.
No,
You think that's a true fact?
I think this is a pretty bad negotiation, and I'm hopeful that it's true. I just don't know.
To tie it all up, this is a true fact.
A true fact.
Tying it up for the episode.
What a couch. How much is the couch worth now?
It was probably destroyed by now.
I'd imagine, but who knows?
0. Worthless. Infinite amount, one could argue. There is no price tag. Priceless.
Wow. Traded priceless art for a priceless used couch.
But yeah, so 50-50 for the episode, and you maintain your victory over me. But I call foul because you knew one of the facts.
By 1 point.
Even though you told me explicitly you didn't know any any more trivia.
I might have known that when we did the first episode. It might have been that long ago. I don't know.
I'm going to take this up with the review board, see what they have to say.
I don't know who the review board is, but yeah, I do. I do feel bad about knowing the first fact, and that's why I confessed to knowing it right away.
It's a real shame.
It is.
Do you mind answering a quick survey to better improve your factor spin experience?
Yeah, I'll do a quick survey. Sure, I've got some time.
Great. Please rate how many stars out of 10 you would rate this round of factor spin.
Oh, wow. That's a tough question.
Alternatively, we have frowny face to slight frowny face to neutral face to smiley face to super smiley face, if you would prefer that.
This was a smiley face round of factor spin.
A smiley face round of factor spin?
Yeah, a lot of the facts they were very interesting and fun. A lot of them were just about Bob Dylan kind of being unpalatable to people.
Quirky?
Quirky, yeah.
Being a scruffy vagrant.
Yeah. Police don't like him. People don't recognize him.
Children don't like him.
Children are scared of him. He sells his fortunes for a couch.
Would you, as an alternate fact to the taxi driver, would you have believed that he performed at a wedding in disguise instead of taxi driver?
Oh, that would have been awesome. That would have been so fun. I don't know how you could have made me believe that, but I do think that would have been a really interesting story to explore.
Would you have believed that he wanted to be on The Simpsons, but he refused to talk and only wanted to communicate via harmonica?
No, that's too similar to what we talked about with Miles Davis and his vow of silence, where he just played the trumpet at people that he didn't get along with. And
would you have been interested in hearing a true fact about how his dog would poop on Katharine Hepburn's roses?
That's not bad. That's not bad, but I don't think I would have replaced anything in the fact with that.
Great. Please hit submit to submit your survey.
Well, I'm just surprised. I've got other thoughts for the other thoughts box. I'm surprised that you'd tell me those potential spins. Like the wedding singer thing is fantastic. I can't believe you're not saving that one for a later artist.
I just don't see how I ever get you to believe it. It's a hard one to sell, regardless of artist.
Bob Dylan just feels very disguisable.
Put that man in a wig.
Yeah. Anyway, submit.
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes. Well, the submit button was also the goodbye Mixtaper button. Welcome back, Connor.
I feel very welcomed.
Welcome. Good. Yay. How's that milk carton looking halfway through the episode?
I finished my first glass.
Okay. Solid. I, too, have finished my bottle of strawberry milk. 14 fluid ounces down the hatch.
Gone.
No more. It was all right. It was no quart, but, we do what we can. Let's talk about this album art, this freewheelin', cold feelin', Bob Dylan album art.
That was pretty good.
Oh, you like that? That was pretty good, right? What if that's what the album was called? The Freewheelin Bob Dylan? The album cover is Bob on the left and his then girlfriend Suze Rotolo. It was taken in February near the West Village of New York City, kind of close to their shared apartment.
Wild to put your girlfriend on a cover.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'll just go ahead and put my temporary girlfriend on the cover of one of the most iconic albums I'll ever make of all time.
It is a move.
It is a move. When she was reflecting on the album cover years later, she said, Bob wore a very thin jacket because image was all. Our apartment was always cold, so I had a sweater on. Plus, I borrowed one of his big, bulky sweaters. And on top of that, I put on a coat. So I felt like an Italian sausage. In her memoir, she also said, it's one of those cultural markers that influenced the look of album covers precisely because of its casual, down-home spontaneity and sensibility. Most album covers were carefully staged and controlled to terrific effect on the Blue Note jazz album covers and to not so great effect on the perfectly posed and clean-cut pop and folk albums. Whoever was responsible for choosing that particular photograph for the Freewheelin Bob Dylan really had an eye for a new look.
That's not what it's called.
I'm not going to do it the whole episode. The Freewheelin Bob Dylan. I'm sad that I thought of it because I'm never going to see this album any other way. What a great album cover. Honestly, I went to New York City myself one spring break trip in early March, and it was snowy and slushy, and I was wearing a bigger coat when I was walking around, but I felt like this album cover. I was like, man, I'm living it. I'm blowing in the wind.
Like a candle.
Yeah, I think it's a great shot. I don't know.
It's a pretty cool shot. You can tell he's cold.
Oh, absolutely. He looks frigid.
Yeah.
And you could tell she's warm because she actually looks happy.
Yeah.
She's like clutching onto him, not to keep herself warm, but to warm him up, keep him alive.
Yeah.
I love that denim, though. Look at, he's wearing a blue shirt with blue jeans.
And a brown jacket.
Yeah.
Black boots.
Yeah, I wonder how far they walked out in the snow like this. And I wonder how they got into the middle of the street. Like, is that something they just did for the photos?
Well, I can't, yeah, it had to be because, I mean, look between his legs. Doesn't it look like there's another car coming up behind him?
Yeah, I guess it kind of does.
Either that or the road slightly bends and that's another parked car.
This is New York City. The road does not bend.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable, though. Look how bad the roads are. Wow, I can't imagine driving in that.
Pretty bad roads. Can't imagine driving in New York City.
Dude, you'd be freewheeling. Your wheels would not have much traction.
I've actually drove in New York City. It's not too bad.
No, the city itself is fine. Sure.
You just gotta always have your foot on the gas. No brake. People don't brake in New York City. You brake, you get cut off and flipped off.
I don't think that's right. And I'd rather handle being cut off and flipped off than the other consequences of only hitting the gas all the time. Anyway, that's the album cover.
Stoplights excluded, but
I really like it. I think it's a nice, simple album cover that reflects the time period, much like the album is a nice, simple album that reflects the time period as well, sonically. Very good pairing. And the album kicks off with one of Bob Dylan's all-time greatest hits, Blowin In The Wind. It was written in 1962, released the very next year as a single, and wow, what a song. It's made up of a lot of rhetorical questions about war and peace and freedom and rights. The civil rights movement was in full force in the early 60s, and so, Bob Dylan sings a lot about all of that, social upheaval. And it's just so well done. It's got this ambiguous meaning to it. Blowin' in the wind. Is it obvious, like a flag or a giant banner blowing in the wind? Or is it so hard to grasp, like you're chasing after paper? Something blowing in the wind is elusive and hard to grab onto. Kind of walks the line between the two.
yeah, I've always interpreted it as the latter. That when it's blown in the wind, it's because it's hard to nail down and really see or grasp.
Me too.
Because so many of the questions are too hard to answer. Like, how many years must a mountain exist before it's washed to the sea?
Yeah, that's true. I've always thought of it that way too. I just saw some other interpretations of it, and I was like, it is kind of left a little open to interpretation.
Yeah, well, especially because the more politically driven rhetorical questions should be obvious answers.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of a combination. Like, to think about the mountains, how many years does a mountain exist before it's blown to the sea? I mean, we don't know the specific number, but we know it's a gosh darn lot. Like, in a certain sense, the answer is very obviously a lot of years.
Yep.
But in another sense, it's very elusive in terms of specifics. Maybe it plays to that dynamic. Also, the phrasing itself was probably inspired by none other than Woody Guthrie. In his autobiography, he said that his political sensibilities were like newspapers blowing in the wind in like a New York City alley. Yeah. Bob himself said, "There ain't too much I could say about this song, except that the answer is blowing in the wind. It ain't in no book or movie or TV show or discussion group. Man, it's in the wind." He said, "Too many of these hip people are telling me where the answer is, but I won't believe that." He said directly, he said, "I'm only 21 years old and I know that there's been too many wars. You people over 21, you're older and smarter." And this is kind of him calling them out, saying, do better. For the melody of Blowin' in the Wind, Dylan once again goes back, like he did on his first album, to the well of traditional songs. This song is based on an African-American spiritual called No More Auction Block and We Shall Overcome. He's weaved them together into this, which again gives the song extra like contextual meaning behind its civil rights message. Blowin' in the Wind was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1994. It's Rolling Stone's 14th greatest song of all time. The most commercially successful version of this song was a cover by Peter, Paul, and Mary. That version came out like 3 weeks after Freewheelin did.
Oh.
Yeah, but either way, right, because it was so civil rights heavy.
Coded.
Yeah, a lot of contemporary black musicians like Mavis Staples and Sam Cooke were like deeply moved by hearing the song, to the point that Blowin' in the Wind helped inspire Sam Cooke's infamous A Change Is Gonna Come. Yeah. Its impact on culture was huge. Writer Nick Cohn said, "Blowin' in the Wind is the first anti-war song ever to make the charts, and truthfully, it was possibly the worst song that he's written. It was embarrassing in its mimsiness, but that wasn't the point. It changed things regardless. It changed the whole concept of what could or couldn't be attempted in a hit song. Suddenly, pop writers could go beyond three-chord love songs. They didn't have to act mindless anymore, and they could say what they meant," which is wild. I mean, we take for granted today that music is in the place that Bob Dylan helped get it to, but I can only imagine hearing a song like Blowing in the Wind when all you've heard is, Build Me Up Buttercup and My Girl.
Build me up.
Yeah.
Buttercup, baby, just to let me know.
It's like, oh, suddenly we're singing about what? War? Wow. What do you think about, like, we should probably talk about on the first track because the whole album is mostly the same. Like, just the style of the acoustic guitar, his singing, and a harmonica. Very different.
Big fan of the harmonica.
Of course.
Sometimes a bit of a spotlight stealer. Looking at you, Piano Man. Piano doesn't get any love.
Yeah, right? On a song about the piano. That's odd, but...
So, sometimes a bit of a spotlight hog, but love a good harmonica. And this is the Bob Dylan that I think I know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the Bob Dylan songs that are hits... Like, a lot of them are in this style where, you know, he's almost at his best when it's just him and a guitar. The times they are a-changing, and I don't know, all the Bob Dylan songs that you'd probably consider your favorites.
The harmonica actually does some complex runs in some of these songs as well. It's not just, you know, the harmonica sound.
Yeah.
Hitting chords.
No, he's good at it. He's honed his skill.
And a really good example of that is our next track.
Oh, Girl from the North Country is my favorite Bob Dylan song. All of them, bar none.
Wow.
This is my absolute favorite. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. I've never, like, sat down and enumerated. Man, if I ranked songs like I ranked albums, imagine how long that would take. But if I did that, this would almost certainly be in my top 10. I love Girl from the North Country. He's done a few different versions over the years, but this one is by far the best, in my opinion. It is the number 30 greatest Bob Dylan song, according to Rolling Stone. I categorically disagree with them. It should be higher, but it's fine. One of those other versions he did was a duet with Johnny Cash, by the way.
Oh.
It's on his Nashville Skyline album, and it's very different than this. The harmonica in Girl from the North Country, you're right, is phenomenal. I like that part, honestly. It's kind of grating, but in a good way, where he just holds that one high harmonica note forever. And you're like, okay, how did that grab you? I've always kind of liked it.
I also like it. I would not put this in my top 5 Bob Dylan songs, but I would put it in my top 3 songs of this album.
Oh.
I'll go ahead and spoil that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's like around the 3-minute mark, 3.5-minute mark, somewhere in there I wrote down that it has that one really long, like the harmonica just like steps down every note. It's like all the way down. I was like, that was nice.
Yeah.
The big large harmonica like drone at the end.
The drone is awesome. And the little harmonica runs are really good too. It gives it just enough color. Like, he sounds beautiful just finger picking on the guitar like he is, but the harmonica just gives you a little pop of variation, a little spice, right when you kind of need it the most.
It's not too spicy.
Yeah, and it's contained spice, too.
It's like a mango habanero. It's spicy, but the mango dampens the spice heat.
Are you recording this episode hungry like you did on the Miles Davis one?
Maybe. No, but I did just have some mango habanero sauce the other day, and I'm still thinking about it. It was so good.
Delicious. Well, the Girl from the North Country, nobody knows for sure, because he's never talked about it, but it's probably about one of his particular ex-girlfriends. Several different women have claimed that Girl from the North Country is all about them, but Bob himself says it's dedicated to all the North Country girls. So maybe he was a player. You never know. This is one of those songs that he wrote after his trip to England. It's actually a reworking of an arrangement of the song Scarborough Fair. I went and looked up Scarborough Fair, some other versions of it to compare, and there's definitely some strong similarities. I could definitely see how that one was the genesis of Girl from the North Country, but this one feels unique enough that he's kind of made it his own. And also, apparently, he's played Girl from the North Country live 569 times as of 2019, which was the most recent stat I had.
Is that a lot or a little?
That's a ton of times.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot. I mean, 569 times?
I couldn't decide.
He could play that song every single day, and it would take him a year and a half.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but it's been out since 1963, so, you know.
Well, that's true. And he is doing 100 shows a year, but this is...
So it just seemed like a low number to me, but...
But he doesn't play his greatest hits and does what he wants. So, for a guy that just plays the songs that he wants all the time...
Well, not anymore, but he probably used to do his hits more often.
Well, that's true. Let me see what setlist.fm has right now. That one lists 589, so maybe he's only played it 20 times in the last 6 years.
Wow.
Or maybe he's played it a lot more than that, and I don't know how far back the stats go. No, the stats go back to 1963? Oh my goodness, what a website. That's amazing. Anyway, I love Girl from the North Country. Don't be so surprised if you see it perhaps on the playlist.
Noted.
So we've got kind of a civil rights song, we've got kind of a love song, and then track 3 we move into another very politically charged song, but in a very different direction, Masters of War. It is an anti-war sort of song, but not really. It's supposed to be a pacifist song against war. Bob Dylan says it's not an anti-war song. It's speaking against what Eisenhower was calling a military-industrial complex as he was making his exit from the presidency. That spirit was in the air, and I picked it up. So he's talking about, the military industry, about building an army, about making war, more than about participating in war. Perhaps an alternate title, Blowin Up in the Wind.
All of the songs are just in the wind.
Girl from the North Country in the Wind.
Masters of Wind.
Yeah. Masters of War is a song with some bite to it. He sings it like he's furious. There's some venom in his...
Yeah, he's dripping.
Yeah, to talk about how Blowin' in the Wind was a song where he's like mimsy or whatever. Masters of War, he's squared up. He said, I've never written anything like that before. I don't sing songs which hope that people will die, but I couldn't help it with this one. I don't sing songs where people will die, except when I do. He said the song's a sort of striking out, a feeling of what can you do? It's coming from a person with no power, from a place of powerlessness, but it's directed at the people with all the power. He does a good job at making one chord kind of sound really interesting. He pivots around at the end of some phrases and stuff, but we get that one minor chord for a long time. This is another lifted melody, of course, from the song called Nottingham Town by folk singer Gene Ritchie. He actually thought that it was just a public domain song as he was writing and creating Masters of War, so he didn't realize that anybody had a copyright. Eventually, he had to square up and pay her $5,000 for the rights to use the melody to this song. Awkward little snafu when that happens. What's your favorite lyric from this song?
My favorite lyric is because of how mean it is. You ain't worth the blood that runs in your veins.
Yes. Wow. Just ice cold.
Just like, dang.
I was pointing to the part before that myself. I was going to say...
For threatening my baby unborn and unnamed?
You've thrown the worst fear that can ever be hurled.
Oh.
You've created a fear to bring children into the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, then threatening my baby unborn and unnamed. They're correlated lines.
Just that whole run is, man.
Yeah, and the money you made will never buy back your soul. I hope your death will come soon. Woo! I'll stand over your grave till I'm sure that you're dead, is how he ends the song. This pacifism song. Love it. And then we kind of ditch the structure a little bit. We kind of get an interesting shift with Down the Highway. It's a 12-bar blues song, but it's not a 12-bar blues song in the traditional way, where it like follows a rhythm and you can count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like there's less structured meter. And he kind of sings a line, and then he does that little guitar fill. Do-do-do-do-do-do. And then he sings a line, and he does the guitar fill. And he sings the line. Like, that's really cool. It's a love song, of course, for Suze Rotolo, the girl on the cover. And he recorded it in one single take on July 9th, 1962. I like the single take vibes. I like how raw it is. Like, he doesn't hit that little guitar run perfectly every time, but that makes it feel human and, unreplicatable. It's not polished. On kind of being inspired by the blues, Bob said, what made the real blues singers so great is that they were able to state all the problems they had, but at the same time, they were standing outside of them and could look at them. And in that way, they had them beat. So that's what he's trying to do kind of here, is standing outside of the situation, talking at it, talking about it, instead of talking from within it. I think that's cool. Neat perspective. What did you think of walking down the highway with my suitcase in my hand?
It's one I'd heard before, obviously. Maybe not so obviously. I don't know. It's one I knew.
I don't think it's obvious.
Maybe it's obvious to me just because of how much I've listened to it. But when I think Bob Dylan with a guitar, I think this song.
Really?
Just that. I love the guitar on this song.
Interesting. Yeah, I love it too. I don't know if it epitomizes Bob Dylan for me.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
It's got the lyrics, it's got the guitar, it's got the vocal pattern I associate with Bob Dylan. This might be for me. If I had to pick one song to be like, this is Bob Dylan, this would be on the short list. It might not be the final pick, but it'd be on the short list.
Wow. I didn't realize you had such an affinity for Down the Highway.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So how's that for thoughts?
Good thoughts. I feel like I'm going to have to look at it with a new appreciation just from hearing how much you like it.
Yeah.
Literally, if you're going by your Spotify plays, which again are not the be-all and end-all metric for an album from 1963, but it does have the third lowest Spotify stream number on the album.
Yeah.
It's not like a greatest hits track in any sense of the word.
No, but, and it's not my favorite Bob Dylan song, probably. It's my favorite guitar piece, probably, and it's what I associate with Bob Dylan, this song. But I probably, again, it'd be on the short list for me, but I don't think it comes out as my favorite.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you're, Bob Dylan, there's a lot of different pieces to who Bob Dylan is, right?
Yeah.
And I think this, if you were to aggregate all those different pieces, and come up with an average, you get something around this song.
Okay, that's an interesting way to think about it. Yeah, that's interesting.
He even gets a little silly with it. He starts laughing when he gets to the, yes, I've been gambling so long, I ain't got much more to lose. He puts a little chuckle in there. I'm like, oh, look at him being a little silly.
He's happy, even though it's a sad song about his girlfriend going across the sea to Italy. Pack my heart in a suitcase.
Yeah, he's being a little silly dilly.
Silly dilly. Good grief.
Silly Billy Dilly.
Billy, that's not his name. Silly Bob Dilly?
Silly Bob Dilly. I do like that.
Wow. Well, then we pick up the pace a little bit with Bob Dylan's Blues. It is kind of a quick song. Bob Dylan's Blues doesn't even hit 2.5 minutes. It's fast. There's a lot more harmonica. And he's talking satirically about how folk music sometimes has gone commercial and sold out to the Tin Pan Alley cookie cutter pop song types.
We've talked a lot about Tin Pan Alley and how cool it is. And here,
It's true.
It's got its own little diss track.
Yeah, Tin Pan Alley diss track. That's fine. I think that's great. One thing Bob Dylan's not doing in 1963 or ever is selling out. So I think he's got a little bit of standing to be critical of that sort of thing. Be true to your art. Be true to your craft. Otherwise, you're going to make Bob Dylan blue. Bob calls this one a really off-the-cuff song. He said, I start with an idea and then I feel what follows. Best way I can describe this one is that it's sort of like walking by on a side street. You gaze in and you walk on. You're walking down the highway, you see Bob Dylan's Blues, you gaze in, you move on. I think that's why the 2.5 minute length serves it well. Then we get to the end point of side A of the album with its longest track, clocking in at almost 7 minutes. A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall.
I like it when a song puts an extra A in there.
Yeah, right? It's good.
I like a good a gonna.
Yeah, honestly, I think it serves the song well. It fits that rhythm really well, and it's fun to sing. It's a hard rain's a gonna fall. Like, it gives you a little extra bounce into that phrase. This song is often misattributed as a song about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it's misattributed because Bob even says it's about that sometimes himself. He kind of fibs because that makes it sound better. Like, it'd be a lot cooler if this song was written after the Cuban Missile Crisis, but he actually premiered it a few weeks prior. It was written a couple weeks before all that kicked off in October of 1962. Yeah, the lyrics started out as a little poem he whipped up on a typewriter that his friend had in his friend's apartment. Then he did some edits, and he refined it to the lyrics we know and love today. He said, every line in A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall is actually the start of a whole new song, but when I wrote it, I thought I wouldn't have enough time alive to write all those songs, so I put all I could into this one, which is really cool. He said, after a while, you become aware of nothing but a culture of feeling, of black days, of schism, evil for evil, the common destiny of the human being getting thrown off course. And he calls the song One Long Funeral Song. So it's not a happy track.
No.
This one is on a par level up there with Blowin In The Wind. I think the content is kind of similar. I think it's similarly well known, but it doesn't quite get the star power Blowin In The Wind. And I think that's just because it's 3 times as long. For the structure of A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, he echoed a traditional Anglo-Scottish ballad called Lord Randall. That ballad follows the same kind of format of question, question, answer, 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 refrain, right? 2 question lines, 5 answer lines, and then a refrain. So that's what he does. Where have you been, my son? Where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled, I've walked, I've stepped, I've been, right? Answer, 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 answer. Then refrain. It's a hard rain's gonna fall, which is really cool. I love it when people stick to really rigid structures when they write songs sometimes. It really inspires a lot of creativity. He also had to point out that hard rain is just like a difficult rain, a tough rain, a pouring rain, not an atomic hard rain.
Oh, not an atomic hard rain, yeah. Well, yeah, there's a hard rain where, like, the big, like, it's not even like it's fast or a lot of it. It's just thick.
Fat raindrops.
Heavy raindrops.
Yeah.
You know, that when they hit you, you're like, dang.
That's a rough rain.
That's a hard rain.
Yes. He said it's not like nuclear fallout rain. He said it's some sort of end that's just got to happen. In the last verse, when I say the pellets of poison are flooding the waters,
that would be burning rain.
That means all the lies that people get told on the radios and in their newspapers. He's literally talking about like distrust in the media. He's talking about clickbait before there's clicking. He's ahead of his time, or the things that he's talking about then are still relevant today, just in a different kind of form. And that's what's so cool about Bob Dylan and so much of this folk kind of music is there's still a lot here to be relevant to a modern audience. And this is another song that he recorded on one take. This recording is from December 6th, a couple months after the Cuban Missile Crisis, even though he performed it at Carnegie Hall a month prior to the incident. So there you go.
There you go.
And that's side one. Man, so strong, so good.
Already halfway through.
I know. Love it.
But now it's time to talk about the second most popular song from this album.
Yeah. Don't think twice. It's all right.
Think 3 times.
Well, don't think 3 times, especially not. Because to think 3 times, you'd have to necessarily think twice. And he says, don't do that.
Oh, that's true. I thought maybe it was like, don't stop at 2. Like, well, if you're going to do 2, you got to at least do 3. It's okay to only do 1.
Don't just think twice.
Yeah.
No. Don't even think twice.
Oh, okay.
I think one of the reasons this song is so popular is it's the B-side of Blowin In The Wind. They went together, and so people got familiar with Blowin In The Wind as one of the biggest songs of the day. They got familiar with Don't Think Twice, It's All Right when they flipped it over. It's got some cool covers, including by Susan Tedeschi, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Burl Ives, the guy that did Rudolph and Holly Jolly Christmas.
Yeah.
He sang Don't Think Twice, It's All Right.
Wow. Now I'm just picturing the snowman do it.
I know. It sounds totally different when it's a snowman singing folk music instead of Bob Dylan. Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings also covered Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. Even Post Malone put out a cover of this song before he was famous, which is pretty wild to me. And I think that, people could say what they want about Post Malone going country. Little sidebar here. Clearly it's in his DNA. He was doing it before he was even making pop music. He was making folk and country music. So, what are you going to do? Don't Think Twice, It's All Right is based on the traditional song, Who's Gonna Buy Your Chickens When I'm Gone? I think that's a valid question to ask of your chicken salesman. Don't Think Twice is such a pretty song. I think I kind of counted on a level with Girl from the North Country as like just a beautiful little finger-picked ballad.
It ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, like you never done before.
Yeah.
And it ain't no use in calling out my name, gal. I can't hear you anymore.
Dang, it's sad.
So sad.
But it's supposed to be kind of a reassuring song. According to the album's liner notes, this song is a statement that maybe you can say to make yourself feel better, as if you were talking to yourself. And that's kind of what he does. He says, don't call my name, don't worry about it, but you're why I'm traveling, I'm leaving, so don't think twice, it's all right. We never did too much talking anyway, so you coming back wouldn't change that much. It's all right. I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. Don't think twice, it's all right. Wow, I love that line. But I still get to keep my soul. You just kind of wasted my time. And it's okay. I'm moving on. Everything's kind of bad until that little refrain, and I think that's really the hook of the song. That's the point of it. Then it's clear that sometime between side 1 and side 2, Bob Dylan went to sleep. We've moved from his blues into Bob Dylan's dream.
Is it a dream or is it a nightmare?
Man, I don't know. I think it's a dream.
Why do we have the term nightmare? Where did that term come from?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to.
Because, a nightmare is just a specific kind of dream, right? I mean, it's still technically a dream. It's just a bad one, right?
Yeah.
But yet we don't have a term for a good dream. We just call it a good dream.
That's true.
So, why did the bad dreams get their own word and classification?
I don't know. The melody for this song is based on another British song, Lady Franklin's Lament, except he's not Lady Franklin, he's Bob Dylan. And he's not lamenting, he's dreaming. So he changed it around. The original one is about the wife of Arctic explorer John Franklin.
Oh.
Yeah, she dreamed of finding him alive after he vanished mysteriously on an expedition. And so Bob Dylan kind of keeps the themes and the tones the same, but instead of talking about some guy, some explorer he's never met, he reminisces about old friends and good times that have vanished before his eyes. But he gets to kind of relive them in dreams.
I too dream of Arctic explorers I never met coming home safely.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if they all did. This is an ambitious song for Bob Dylan to sing.
Yeah? In what way?
I just think he shows off a lot of vocal chops on this one. There's a lot of notes that are kind of at the higher end of his vocal range, and he has to hold them out for a long time. I think he does fine with it, but yeah, it's a 5-minute song, too.
It is. It's a long song.
It is. I think it's one of the songs where the length, you feel it a little bit more than, A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. You're like, yes, wow, lyric, lyric, lyric. Every one of these lines could be the start of a whole other song. Bob Dylan's Dream doesn't quite feel the same. It's still good, but 5 minutes. By the end of it, you're like, okay, next.
Yeah, for me, I didn't notice it as I was listening to it. The individual, if you were to give me any little snippet of the song as we were going through, at any individual moment, I didn't notice, I guess, that it was too long. But there was about a point 4 minutes in, and I was like, oh, wait, we're still on the same song.
This is still happening. Bob Dylan's still asleep. Wake up.
Like, this is still going. But then, like, right after that, I was still enjoying it. And then at the end, I was like, that was kind of long, wasn't it? Was that too long? Like, I couldn't decide. Like, it was, like, weird that no individual moment felt too long. But, like, I was aware that it was too long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting dichotomy.
Maybe he was just asleep in the backseat of a Volkswagen on the way to Oxford town.
On the way to Oxford town, I guess. I like the distribution of themes on this album. He never puts songs two back to back that are so the same thematically, because we're about to get back into a run of, civil rights, World War III love song, but we haven't had that for a minute. Hard Rain's Gonna Fall is civil rightsy. Don't Think Twice It's Alright is kind of a broken heart song. Bob Dylan's Dream is a reminiscing song. Oxford Town, we're back into the civil rights activism. This song was Bob's answer to a magazine that was soliciting songs about the 1962 Ole Miss riot that happened after the university tried to integrate with their first black student, James Meredith. They said, hey, anybody want to write songs about this major historical event we just lived through? Dylan says, yeah, I got it. How's about Oxford Town? He doesn't directly name Meredith or talk about the school directly, but Ole Miss is located in Oxford, Mississippi. So Oxford Town is kind of a stand-in, a proxy for the school in the situation. He said it deals with the Meredith case, but then again, it doesn't. I wrote that when it happened, and I could have written that yesterday. It's still the same. So it's just another case in point of, like, this stuff stays relevant. Also, an interesting fact about Oxford Town, Bob Dylan only performed it live one single time in 1990.
Wow.
Yeah, he was playing on Ole Miss campus.
So what all of these stats are teaching me is that he just doesn't perform a lot of his music.
No, he does not. That's true. But I was going to say, if you thought 570 times was not a lot, here you go. One time through Oxford Town, and that's it. I like Oxford Town. I think it's a subtle civil rights song. Whereas something like Blowin In The Wind, and of course Masters of War and stuff, some of these other political songs are way more in your face. Oxford Town isn't so much. Like, it packs the same kind of emotional punch, but without coming at you as aggressively.
Yeah, and it's only a minute 50 after a run of, 652, 340, 502. I mean, we got, and it's a fast-paced song too. So not only is it short, but it's fast.
Yeah, and he keeps on with the lighter tone on Talkin' World War III blues. Woody Guthrie himself is actually a big reason that the Talkin' blues style of song got popular. So it's no surprise that Dylan pays another tribute, more homage to him even here, with his own Talkin' Blues song. You sing a little bit of it, and you kind of talk a little bit of it. Said it was a bad dream. This song was also a late addition to the record. Remember, we said that first pressing came out and it had songs that the label said, whoa, 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 we're going to get sued if you release this. Then they had to recall them all and destroy them. Well, one of the songs they got rid of was called Talkin' John Birch Paranoid Blues. And the label said, John Birch is not going to like this. You got to cut it. And so Dylan said, fine, we'll get rid of that. We'll replace it with another Talking Blues song, Talkin' World War III Blues. And it's, of course, another Cold War satire piece about international tension, nuclear threats, that sort of thing. Paranoia. It starts out with him saying he's had dreams. He goes to the doctor and starts telling them about his dreams. The doctor says, nurse, get your pad. The boy's insane. He grabbed my arm. I said, ouch. The lyricism. Chef's kiss. So he's just imagining World War III. Not pretty.
The harmonica's back on Talkin' World War III Blues.
It is. Love it, love it. How do you feel about the talking blues style? As someone who doesn't like talking in songs but also likes blues, this kind of talk singing.
Yeah, talk singing is different than talking.
Yeah.
Is I think my approach on that.
Okay, that's reasonable.
I don't like talking. Talk singing is good because like a lot of rappers do that too, and I know rap isn't.
Yeah, I think that's the thing you liked about Wiz Khalifa and the way that he rapped.
Yeah, it's good, but it's not necessarily what I'm always looking for, so it's got to be in the right context.
Sure, yeah, I get that.
Dude, like if I was like, guys, I'm in the mood for some good singing, and you put this on, I'm going to be like, all right, hang on.
You were not in the mood for good singing. If you're in the mood for good singing, I'll be honest, and you put on any Bob Dylan song, I'm going to think you need to reevaluate your choices.
Yeah.
But that's fine. He gets kind of close, though, on Corrina, Corrina, the one and only full band song on the album, and a cover.
It's a cover.
It is. Bob Dylan, we've talked how he's co-opted and reworked a lot of these songs, these traditional songs. He's kind of made them his own. Corrina, Corrina is the first song on this album that is not a Bob Dylan original. The first version was recorded by Bo Carter in 1928, and there's a chance that it has even deeper, like more traditional roots. but likely, I think the consensus is Corrina Corrina is just a song that is very informed by older music. The original was more country focused before Bob Dylan folkified it. His version built off the lyrical themes and the song structure of the Carter song, but he took a little bit of the melody from Robert Johnson's song, Stones in My Passway. You might know a little bit about Robert Johnson. He's a blues and Americana legend. I mean, he did Crossroads. Robert Johnson is a pillar of American folk. So Bob Dylan's kind of integrated him into this Corrina Corrina.
Yeah.
It's odd. Do you think it's striking to hear the full band on this? I know they kind of play quietly and in the background, but I don't know. It's just different because it's not just Bob Dylan and a guitar. Suddenly there's a drum for the first time. There's a piano for the first time. Kind of an odd pivot for this album that...
It is kind of an odd pivot right here towards the end.
Yeah, we were deep into this album without any of it. And then suddenly it's here and you're like, oh, curious. I think it gives him a little versatility. I think it's a chance to show off another dimension to his musicality. Kind of show you what he can do without being so focused on playing and singing all at once. And like being the only instrument going. Because you hear the guitar kind of accenting a little bit more than is just trying to play the whole song. Carrying the burden of being the rhythm and the melody and the this. Here it just gets to kind of be flavoring instead of support. Critical support. And he keeps the harmonica. You know, there's still a lot of elements of Corrina Corrina that are in line with Freewheelin as a whole.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, me too. But I don't think I like it as much as like the rest of the album.
No, I like it better than some of the album. It's a middle pack track for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's, again, compared to the rest of this album. Not compared to all Bob Dylan and all songs ever. I do think it's in the higher range of that sort of stuff. But I don't know. Yeah. Then he really just cuts loose on the rowdy 2 minutes of Honey, Just Allow Me One More Chance. It's another one that's based in the mid to late 20s. It's based on the song from 1927, Honey, Won't You Allow Me One More Chance by Henry Ragtime Texas Thomas. Bob kept the choruses, but he changed the verses around quite a bit on Honey, Just Allow Me One More Chance. There's hardly a moment on this album where Bob sounds happier or more excited. Like, he just sounds like he's having a ball.
He's really picked up the pace since going to sleep, got his energy back.
Yeah, he really did. He's so goofy. He's just hollering by the end of this one.
Yeah, he is. He's just going, woo!
Which I love, by the way.
Silly Bob Dylan.
This is his real silly side.
Also, the way he says needle at around the minute 30 mark.
Okay.
Did you hear it?
Yeah, sure.
He's like, needle.
Just mean the audience isn't going to hear. The audience is going to have to hear you say that, go back to the album, go to this song, pull up a minute and 23 seconds, and scroll all the way through.
Just to hear him
go, needle? That's so ridiculous. So specific of a comment to have.
Needle.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but come on. It's a little goofy.
It is. He's goofy.
We should just soundbite it. Is it technically...
yes, we can't do that. It's his voice.
technically bad to steal it and
yes,
just go,
it's
needle?
bad to steal the needle.
But I like it. I want the needle. I mean, there's got to be some sort of free, fair use amount of Bob Dylan's voice we're allowed to use, right? You telling me needle's not in the fair use?
There's fair use. Maybe we could claim it because we're critiquing it, but that's not the kind of thing you play around with.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially when it comes to...
This is our livelihood. We can't risk it all on one needle.
Yeah. One needle in a haystack.
Well, up last is I Shall Be Free, a reworking of Huddy Ledbetter's We Shall Be Free. Huddy did it in the 40s. Bob picked it up 20 years later. And people think Leadbelly's version itself is born from an old spiritual too. Layers upon layers in all of these early folk songs. And it's another Talkin' blues song. So if you liked it on Talkin' World War III blues, good, because it's here again. And we talk so much about how these other songs were one-take wonders, right? How he knocked out so many of these songs with just one opportunity, Down the Highway and the rest of them. I Shall Be Free took an unusual 5 takes to get right, but he did it. Some critics think that I Shall Be Free is a lightweight song, and they think it's a bad choice to end the album.
Whoa.
I know. Other people said it was a relief, like turning to a more lighthearted subject matter was a good change after we got so much heavy, like Debbie Downery stuff on the rest of the record.
You could argue that the more lighthearted tone is like symbolism for his hope for a lighthearted future.
Yeah, and it is ironic, honestly, that the whole album is called Freewheelin Bob Dylan. Freewheelin makes me think he's carefree, he's happy-go-lucky.
That's not what it's called.
It's what it's called. It's not the Freewheelin Bob Dylan. It's just he's happy-go-lucky. He's free, you know? And then he sings so much heavy stuff stuff about how he's weighed down and his heart is taken in a suitcase far away and his soul is gone and he's Masters of War and A Hard Rain and the integration. Like, there's so much stuff that's happening that is not freewheeling. And so I Shall Be Free, I think I agree with the people that say this is a necessary turn for the album. This is the album's optimistic final outlook to a better future. You know, stuff's bad, but hey, we're doing fine. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Country will grow. Not in the way that he means it, but hey. You know what I can't believe? And this is just a little side note.
The power of love.
Well, I can't believe the power of love. It honestly is so moving and striking. But even more than that, I can't believe, like, to my brain, I would never have guessed that Mr. Clean as a character was around and so recognizable before 1963.
That is weird.
In my mind, he's a much more recent creation.
In my mind, he's like a mid to early 2000s guy.
But here he is immortalized in a Bob Dylan song. The Dylanologists are over here baffled. They're like, did he predict Mr. Clean? Let's see. When did Veritably Clean come into the world? Mr. Clean came from a cleaning solution created by a marine businessman who was trying to help clean ships without harming his workers. So he sold Mr. Clean to Procter & Gamble in 1958. Mr. Clean is inspired by a Navy sailor because Mr. Clean was meant to clean boats. What do you know? Anyway, that's the weird little tangent to end the album. Bob Dylan, what a guy. He shall be free. So let's see if Bob Dylan gets redeemed here. This is the year of redemption. Let's get into some final spin. It's such an interesting album. It highlights Bob Dylan's traditional roots. It elevates his greatest inspirations, like Woody Guthrie, and yet it still leaves enough room for his iconic songwriting to develop its own voice as he's becoming the spokesman of a generation. It's just like it's very different than Highway 61. There's a lot more laid back, guy with a guitar vibes going on, but it's also an equally important, if not more important, record in the evolution of folk and Americana and rock music. I mean, we talked about how before this it's just Brill Building, Tin Pan Alley, 3-chord love songs. Bob Dylan kicks down the door and says, hey, you can talk about big things in your music. You can talk about social injustice. You can talk about racial inequality. You can talk about warmongers, and you can like speak truth to power through music, and people are going to listen to it. It's just revolutionary. So I think Freewheelin is such a cool album for that, and it rocks. It's just a good sounding album. It's quick to listen to. It doesn't feel burdensome. Like, this is an easy listen for me all the time. It's a special album. I kind of save this one for special occasions, but I love it. I'm giving the music an 84. The blend of traditional and English and American historical music is really cool. Bob Dylan doesn't have the best singing voice for carrying a melody, but the good news is he's chosen a genre and chooses songs that don't necessarily require that to be really good. So he knows his strengths, and he plays to them. Lyrics, I'm giving a 92. I think they're just really strong throughout. I don't have too many negative things to say about the lyrics. Sometimes they get a little goofy on his sillier songs, but I think that's just because you need a little... But I think that's just because you need a little space to breathe.
You what? You what?
Need a little space to breathe.
Need a little.
Goodness. Yeah, you need some levity in between the big heavy moments. So 92 on the lyrics, 84 for instruments and production. Just a guy and a guitar and a harmonica. Produced by a jazz producer. Who would have guessed that it would turn into such an iconic folk album? So many one takes. I kind of like the unpolished nature of it, and it doesn't, because it's unpolished, doesn't sound old, even today. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. This is something you could sit down and play with a guitar and a harmonica and get it to sound pretty close to exactly the same as it did in 1963. And that's cool. Overall vibe, 87. Big time historical album. So much fun. Just an iconic piece of music history. So I'm happy to give it a final score of an 88 points. That lands it at number 212 on my ranking list, below Tyler, the Creator's Flower Boy, which is odd. Surely that's got a higher production score. And it's above Creedence Clearwater Revival from later on in the decade, another band that really went for it politically and socially in a lot of their music. So 212. Is that a redemption, you may ask?
Is it?
Okay, good. I thought you were going to not ask. And I was like, you may also not ask if you don't want to, but...
I thought it was a rhetorical question, like Blowin In The Wind.
Oh, yes, ambiguous. As a matter of fact, it is quite a redemption. Freewheelin is 212. Today, Highway 61 Revisited is number 383 with an overall score of an 85.4. So they're separated by like 2.6 points, but the gap between them is about 160 albums.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's a solid redemption. I like Highway 61 a lot, but for very different reasons. And so I just think Freewheelin', I mean, it's got a higher concentration of Bob's greatest hits and my personal favorites. For me, definitely a redemption. Definitely, I wanted both of them in episodes. So I'm glad that we got around to this one eventually, because it was gonna happen. And my playlist pick is Girl from the North Country. Just taking it.
Just gonna get that out of the way.
Yeah, it's the only one that would feel right to me,
Fair enough.
because it truly is my favorite.
Can't argue with that logic.
Even if I can acknowledge it's not his best, it's pretty close. What about you? How's this scruffy Vagrant stack up to his own self?
Well, awfully convenient you just said that, because this album for me is getting 9 Scruffy Vagrants out of 10.
9 scruffy Vagrants. Oh my goodness, what a big jump. That's great.
What a redemption.
Yeah, you gave... Man, he's really not doing so hot in your units, though. He's moved from a dinky Dylan to a scruffy Vagrant. That's not great. But a 7 to a 9. That's a strong jump.
It's a 2-point jump.
Other than Radiohead, which moved from a 2 to a 6, this is definitely the biggest jump. For something to redeem into the 9s is huge.
Yeah, way better album. I mean, not that a 7's a bad score, but this one blows it out of the water.
It does.
Blown in the water.
Blowing out of the water.
Yeah. My playlist pick will be Blowin In The Wind.
Whoa. What are the other top 3s? I thought for sure you'd choose a song that was after mine.
Yeah? Well, my top 3s. Blown In The Wind.
Okay.
Girl from the North Country.
Starting strong.
As already spoiled.
Surely Down the Highway is going to be on your list.
Down the Highway.
Uh-huh. Then what do you go for? Hard Rain's Gonna Fall?
No, I don't think so.
Oh. Does he give his honorable mention to The Needle?
I really wanna. Bob Dylan's Blues.
Bob Dylan's Blues. Wow. That kind of surprises me. I mean, again, the heavy talk singing.
Yeah, it's just what I associate with Bob Dylan, though.
Yeah, that's fair. Not inaccurate.
Yeah, well, this album is what I anticipated Highway 61 being like.
Yeah, sorry about that. It is not at all. Nope. You were one of those people that would have been mad when he went electric, aren't you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm a classic Freewheelin Bob Dylan fan.
Wow. You're the free Wanner Connor. We didn't talk about this, though, but where in your 9s is it going?
Oh, we didn't get there. It's gonna go into my country corner.
Okay. It is a reasonable place for it to belong. Wow, it's a lot of country in here now.
There's a lot of country in here now.
8 country albums in a row.
Yeah, we'll put it below Honky Tonk Heroes by Waylon Jennings.
That's a pretty reasonable place to put it.
I had to go double check Honky Tonk Heroes.
That's so funny.
That's where I'm putting it.
We just talked about how Bob Dylan probably saw Waylon Jennings play the bass for Buddy Holly a couple days before he died. That's, that's really cool.
I can see him play the bass all he wants. He's right next to him.
That's right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this Bob Dylan redemption. That's awesome. Great episode. Love a revisit. I was really looking forward to this one for a long time. Like, one of the reasons I kind of helped cook up the year of redemption was because I wanted to see a different Bob Dylan album from you. So, we did it. If you want more Spin It, and I know you do, 2026 is going to be a big year full of a lot of big stuff.
Big year, big stuff.
Uh-huh. Be sure to freewheel yourself onto our social media, at Spin It Pod Official on Instagram and at Spin It Pod on X. And you can head on down the highway to www.spinitpod.com. And much like Bob Dylan, we shall be free to listen to wherever you get your podcasts.
Tell a kindergarten class about the podcast this week.
Maybe just show up and sing about it.
Show up and serenade them.
Why not? Apparently that's a thing you can do and nobody will ask any questions. Don't do that. Don't be a scruffy vagrant.
Don't do that, please. The Spin It Podcast stance on showing up and scaring kindergartners. Don't.
Bob Dylan, if you're listening, don't do it again.
We're watching you.
Yeah.
And like all those kindergartners on the weird playground thingy.
The weird playground thingy? You're talking about a merry-go-round, but not like a merry-go-round with horses.
No.
The other kind.
Is that still what it's called?
Yeah, that's still what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case,
I think so. Just a manual one.
Make like a merry-go-round and keep spinning.
Okay, now we should look up the origins of Nightmare. I was going to say earlier we should save it for the outro. We made it all the way here. And now I want to know because I was genuinely curious, but I was in the zone on Bob Dylan's Dream, so.
You were in the zone.
Yeah. It looks like nightmare comes from Old English. Oh, yeah, combining the words night and mare, an evil spirit or goblin, referring to a demon that suffocated people in their sleep.
Oh my.
Not a female horse. We were all wrong about that. I know that's what you thought, just like that's what I thought. Guess what? That ain't it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense than night horse.
Yeah, its use dates to, the 14th century.
Well, hang on now. Is there any chance of that goblin demon?
Is it a horse demon?
Yeah, maybe it's a demon horse suffocating people in their sleep. The nightmare.
That's not a question for the Dylanologist. That's a question for the demonologists.
Needle.